And hey, greetings, salutations, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. Open Mic is just kind of a more laid-back, relaxed version, of course, of the John Campea Show, where all we really do is take your comments and questions, whatever you have to say, whatever your thoughts, opinions, theories, or questions you have, send them on in. Me and Rob are going to address them, and the super chats are now open, just However, we're getting close to our ceiling of how many we're going to take, so we'll leave them open for a few more minutes here. So if you've got a thought, theory, opinion, question, whatever observation, send it on in, and we'll address it. I'm, of course, joined by Robert Meyer-Burnett. Robert, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Today's a good day, John.
It was a very good day, and it's an extra good day because we got Brooke joining us again in here. Brooke, how you doing?
I'm back.
It's good to have you here. How was your weekend? How was your Thanksgiving weekend?
Oh, it was awesome. Much needed rest and relaxation.
Yeah, you went away to like a Palm Springs resort or something, right?
Yes, I got it all in. Tennis, golf, working out, good food.
That's always a good thing to do on a weekend. And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for joining us here. And we're going to hop into your comments and questions you guys have been sending in. But before we do, I'm sure we'll talk about this more in depth tomorrow on the John Campea Show, but for those of you who didn't catch it, they dropped the first full trailer of the Super Mario Brothers movie. Now, the first teaser came out, which I thought was wonderful.
Yeah.
But all anybody wanted to talk about was, I didn't like those 6 words we heard Chris Pratt say as Super Mario. And hey, to be fair, I didn't quite like the sound of those 6 words either. I didn't either, but I was like, all right, but we're going to keep it in context here. This is a couple of words. This first full trailer now came out, and listen, I tell you, if they're looking to try to press those nostalgia buttons, they hit all of them because we got all the key characters. You even got Mario. The part where I really went, okay, they're going that far, was when they had Mario in the raccoon suit. I'm like, oh, they're going there.
They're going deep.
Like, that was the first Mario game that I got like super obsessed with when I was playing. And then I was sitting here wondering, and Jonathan Boyko was saying this too, I was sitting here wondering, are they going to have the carts? Are we going to see the Mario? And then sure enough, out come the Mario karts.
Come on, man.
And all that kind of Bowser looks great. Well, look at us. We're adorable. I mean, that... I got it. Well, again, we'll talk more about it tomorrow, but I thought it was a very cute trailer. Again, if the job of a trailer is to take your interest level and bump it up a couple of notches, this trailer just did its job. I'm kind of curious. You sat here and watched it with me. What did you think of the trailer?
Look, if you are a Mario fan and not just a fan of 1 or 2 of the games, but the entire, all the way back to Donkey Kong. I mean, I think it was the first time I saw him. How was that 40 years ago? I'm so old.
Oh my God.
It pretty much encompassed the entire Mario, the gestalt of Mario. You got it all, man. And look, John, it's an irresistible trailer, I thought. I'm like, how can you not want to see this? If you're a Mario fan, or if you're a cursory fan, or you played Mario Kart once drunk at a party, you'll be, oh, I recognize that. I'll go.
I still play Mario Kart.
Mario Kart is legitimately a game that anybody can pick up and start playing.
Yep. At any time.
At any time. And I think this movie looks to be, it certainly invited me in.
Now, of course, there is nobody in the world that is more qualified to speak on this than me, because I am Italian. My real name is Giovanni. So, I mean, I know there's still going to be... I know there's still going to be a lot of talk about the voice. Now, let's be real clear about something. No matter what his voice was in the movie, no matter what voice he did, it wasn't going to please everybody. Like, they could even go with the game and it would still not please everybody. He could play it the way he did. Although, when he did have a little bit of the accent in there when he's getting scoring up against Donkey Kong.
I was a little confused by that.
Yeah, he goes, all right, let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm like, okay, so they're going to pepper a little of that in there. Now, as a guy who grew up around angry Italians yelling at each other in Italian, I'm fine with the voice. I love that image. I am personally fine with the voice. You know what? No matter how good or bad the voice is, it's not going to make the movie any better or worse.
Right.
I mean, it's going to work or it's not going to work. And me personally, I was fine. Like I said before, I mean, even as an Italian and as somebody who's played these games growing up and still plays Mario Kart, I didn't want to go into this movie going, oh no, it's a Bowser. Like I didn't want to go. Like that would get real tired. It's very cute in a game when it happens like one line every 5 or 6 minutes.
No.
But if I got to hear the entire dialogue doing that, I think I would have got sick of it. But did you play any Mario games?
I played Mario. I was going to say, I think it has to have been, I'm dating myself now, like 35 years ago that the original Nintendo and Super Mario Brothers came out. Of course I played.
So you were playing it 7 years before you were born. That's
pretty much,
amazing.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Exactly. And what were the 6 words that you mentioned earlier that were said that people don't want to hear?
Oh no, it was in the original trailer. What do you say? Where am I?
Yeah, something like that.
And then Mushroom City, here we come, or something like that. I mean, that was it. It was like literally 2 lines, and everybody got all worked up for it. But for me, actually, I'm curious, Taylor. I didn't hear you watched it, but I didn't hear you say what you thought about it. What did you think about it?
I think it looks so cute. The fact that they have Mario Kart in there, the fact that they have Donkey Kong. I was worried Donkey Kong wasn't going to be featured in the movie a lot. The first trailer, kept it focused on Mario. I loved getting to see
and
Anya
Bowser.
Taylor-Joy.
It really kept it focused on Bowser, too.
Anya Taylor-Joy is going to be so cool as Princess Peach. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, I thought it looked good. Again, we'll talk about more. I'm dying to hear what Chris Carr thinks about it.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know what she thinks about it.
Tomorrow.
But I'm looking forward to seeing more of it, and we'll talk more about it on the John Campea Show tomorrow. So, yeah, if you guys have a thought about it, jump into the comments and let us know.
I'm curious. Do we know Mario and Luigi's backstory? Like, what part of Italy are they from? Does anyone know anything about that?
I like to think they're from Calabrese. I mean, that's me.
Calabrese.
I'd like to think they're from there. But, you never know. A little Calabrian in there. All right. Let's now get to why we are here, guys, which is to hear from you and take your thoughts, comments, questions, opinions, and things like that. So, Brooke, let's get things started here. What is up first?
All right. Jared Vester says, I use my parents as a way to see how general audiences respond to movies. They're big Avatar fans because they don't know what the new one is about. They don't want to spend 3 hours of their time to see a movie with no info.
Hey, listen, I've been singing that song. I've been preaching that choir. By the way, Jared sent in like a $20 super chat. Thank you, Jared, for sending that in. Look, I'm going to see this movie. I'm excited to see this movie. James Gunn, to the best of my recollection, has disappointed me 0 times. 0 times.
You mean James Cameron?
I say James.
But James Gunn has disappointed you 0 times too.
James Cameron, good Canadian kid, which automatically makes him the better James. Good Canadian kid, James Cameron, whether it's Terminator, or whether it's Avatar, or whether it's my all-time favorite action film, True Lies, or the list goes on and on.
Dude, the man went down to the bottom of the Mariana Trench in equipment that his brother designed. Come on, don't bet against Jimmy.
The dude is a real-life adventurer.
Totally.
He's a real-life adventurer. So I ain't going to doubt him one bit. But I agree. The trailers have not told me. If you'd asked me a year ago before seeing a single frame of anything of Avatar 2, and you ask, what do you think Avatar is going to be about? I would say, well, obviously we're going to be hanging around the Na'vi. We're going to probably see Sully's family, and the humans are back. I could have told you that a year ago. We're 3 promo spots in, and I couldn't tell you a single thing more about it. And you can say whatever you want. That is going to turn some people off. There are going to be some people that were maybe on the fence about going to see it. They've watched the trailers and go, I don't know what this is about. This trailer didn't tell me why I should come see it. And it's going to, again, this movie's still going to be a big hit. It's going to be a big, big hit, but it's not going to live up to its potential. And I think Jared's mom and dad are a great example of this. That's a lot of the movie-going audience right there. And so, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they'll squeeze out. That was supposed to be the final trailer. Maybe they'll realize the folly of their ways. They still got time, and then fire out another one.
We're 17 days away from the release of the film.
It's got a little bit of window.
And there is social media embargo breaks 2 weeks. We should hear about this movie in 10 days.
Well, we've already heard about it
from Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo del Toro, for those of you who missed it, and I talked about on the show last week, Guillermo del Toro has seen it. Social media embargoes do not apply to Guillermo del Toro. And he came out and said it is an epic made by a master at the height of his powers.
Yes.
Now, keep in mind, I believe it was his brother. James Cameron literally saved Guillermo del Toro's, was it his brother's
father?
life? father's life.
Who was kidnapped.
Who was kidnapped, and James Cameron put up the $1 million when Del Toro didn't have that.
Right.
So, hey, could you say that Del Toro might be a little biased? Sure, but I got to imagine that he just wouldn't say anything if he didn't like it. But I don't know. We'll find out when more of the stuff comes out. All right. What's next?
I did not know that about James Cameron and Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, it's interesting, right?
It is. Culture Wars Diplomacy says, my problem with the sequel trilogy was JJ trying to recreate the original his own way. Johnson wanted to subvert expectations, creating janky films. I love the word janky.
Good word. It's an onomatopoeia.
I will tell you what. I don't care what anybody says. I will argue with anybody, and I'll win. The Force Awakens is a wonderful film. I remember, I think I've told the story before, but I remember when our offices were right across the street from the AMC Burbank 16. We had moved into our bigger office space by that point. Almost every afternoon for a couple of weeks, when we had a break between shows, like we'd be done movie talk early, and then we would have a few hours, Schnepp and I would just go, want to go see The Force Awakens? Yep. And we would just run across the street and go check out. And we probably did that for like 7 days in a row, or like 7 times over the course of maybe 2 weeks. And every time we watched it, we just loved it more and more and more and more. And, that was kind of a response to the fact that one of the big criticisms of the prequels the prequels just didn't feel like Star Wars. And so I think they took that and said, well, we're going to make this feel really. Now, can you make the legitimate criticism that there's a lot of similarities between the original Star Wars New Hope and this? Absolutely. Just like there's a lot of similarities between Dances with Wolves and Avatar, but I still loved Avatar. So I thought it was utterly fantastic. But look, the big problem with the sequel trilogy, I made like a full 25-minute that Jonathan had to edit. I made like a full 25-minute editorial on this about, as a Disney era Star Wars fan, why The Last Jedi, or the Rise of Skywalker, I should say, was a complete failure, and why overall the trilogy as a whole, even though I loved the first one and I liked the second one, overall has to be looked at as a failure, because what became very, very clear was they had zero plan. There was no plan. They literally were just running by the seat of their pants saying, can you just make the first film? Okay, great. Now, you made the first film without actually having any idea where it's supposed to go. That's okay. Let's bring in another filmmaker and they can take it in their own direction. And then let's bring back the first one to just go in their own direction again. And it became so apparent that there was zero plan. I don't care if they wanted to go the whole way with Rian Johnson's philosophy. I don't care if they want to do all 3 of them in JJ's philosophy. They just needed to have a plan. They needed the films to feel like they fit together, and they absolutely didn't, Rob. Every single film felt like a totally different revamp of the franchise.
Look, it's funny. What I don't understand is George Lucas went to people like Kurosawa, not just Joseph Campbell and all of that, but went to Kurosawa and said, hey, The Hidden Fortress, I like that movie. Why didn't you go back to like Homer? A Homeric Odyssey. You've got the Odyssey, you've got the Iliad, and then the third one you come up with on your own. You could still do that, and there's a structure there. They didn't do that. It bummed me out, man.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
All right. Remmer Bulldog says, theory, Kang will show up in the Marvels post-credit scene because of Miss Marvel's bangles. I could be wrong, but it's just a theory.
I'm an outlier on this. I know the whole fandom right now is totally bought into the theory that Kang, because there were circles in the trailer. Look, everybody, circles. That must be the same thing as the 10 rings. And listen, it might be. It very well might be. But everybody seems right now to be bought into this theory that while I believe that the 10 rings and Ms. Marvel's bangles are connected, I am not one of the believers that those are connected to Kang. And I know most people are, and it very well could work out to be that way. I'm not saying it can't be. It very well could. I'm not personally buying into that theory right now because, that ain't Chinese.
I don't know.
But you are buying into that theory.
Well, look, only because the bangles, we were talking about Quasar last week and his column bangles, his quantum bands, powered from the quantum realm. There we go, right there. There's when there's smoke, there's fire. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to tie it in, but we are moving through the multiverse saga, and I think the quantum realm coming from the Marvel comics, there's a lot going on with that quantum realm, and it connects to Loki. It connects to all kinds of things. I think Quantum Mania is going to tee us up. Speaking of golf, tee us up for. What's your handicap? I think that we're going to learn a lot about Kang and the multiverse in Quantum Mania. I'm not saying we're going to say that they're the Bangles or not, but we're going to learn a lot, I think.
See, I also think rather than the Bangles and the Ten Rings being connected to Kang, I still believe the Bangles and the Ten Rings are connected to the Eternals.
I think they're all, yes.
You think that because when you look at that, the rings that he created, and there's so much similarity, and knowing that the Eternals been around for millions and millions of years. But you know what? I'm saying I don't think they're connected to Kang, right? But if I wanted to make an argument against my own position on this, what did Bruce and Wong and Captain Marvel say at the end of Shang-Chi? We don't know where this came from. And we have no idea where these signals are going. And we have nothing on record. Well, if they came from the quantum realm, that would explain that. So again, I don't believe they are connected there, but if I wanted to make an argument against myself, that's a pretty good argument against my position on that. So I don't know, we'll see. All right, what's next?
All right, Jared Vester again says, I don't hear a lot of people talk about No Way Home almost hitting $2 billion. I'm sure they will have a couple of re-releases to hit it.
Yeah, I don't know that people are rushing out to see a re-release of Spider-Man No Way Home, to be honest with you.
I mean, they gave us the best possible re-release we could get with extra cool stuff in it.
I mean, yeah, that was a little bit of a waste of me. Hey, listen, though, make no mistake, a lot of people talked about the success of Spider-Man No Way Home. Like a lot of people.
It was a monster hit. I mean, if they were trying to eke it over the $2 billion mark, maybe, but I think that they were so surprised with how much it already made that I don't see that there's a real benefit. I don't think at the next Disney shareholders meeting, they're like, look, this movie that almost made $2 billion actually made $2 billion.
Yeah, it would actually need like another $94 million. And re-releases don't generally make that at all. And I don't think this one will. Well, who cares? That's just a figure number, right? That's just a symbolic number, the $2 billion. The fact that this film made $1.9 billion, literally one of the biggest successes in the history of Hollywood.
And that's only one revenue stream.
Yeah.
I mean, how many digital downloads did it make? How many, it sold well in physical media. It made a lot more money than $2 billion. And it's going to continue to make money for a long time to come.
All right. What's next?
Amazing. Culture Wars Diplomacy says, my problem with SWPM, not that Jar Jar was there, but I believe Star Wars, but I believe he could trip and take out the battle droids in a movie series with Vader and Maul.
I mean, look, that became a trope that not just Phantom Menace had. Of course, look, you have the idiot hero, right, in Jar Jar, where he would literally accidentally stumble to victory. Where, I know he's surrounded, so he falls over and a gun trips and it shoots all the bad guys. Or he's running down the hill from the bong bads and he's running and inadvertently it hits the enemy tank and blah, blah. That's kind of what Captain Jack Sparrow became in the latter Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And I hate that trope. You know, George Lucas said in a behind-the-scenes special feature of The Phantom Menace, when they showed as they were getting ready to make the movie, he was in the art department looking at the storyboards, and he pointed at Jar Jar. And he said, go back and watch. It's one of the most prophetic statements ever. This all hinges on Jar Jar. Well, you were right. And it went really badly. But I mean, hey, you know what? Live and learn. Live and learn. I still remember when, do you remember the Star Wars fan site, theforce.net?
Yeah, of course.
My buddy Paul Lenz was the EIC of theforce.net. And then the dream thing happened where Lucasfilm came calling and they hired him to go be the director of LucasArts. And he went and he helped produce some of their special features and all that kind of stuff. But I still remember as we were waiting for the new Star Wars movie, we're about a year out, and the first audio clip got leaked. And it was just the audio clip. Do you any of you guys in the live chat remember this? Are you old enough to remember this? It was just the audio clip of Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Jar Jar in the bongo, in the little submarine. He goes, "What do you mean, no plan?" Or no, what's the word he says? what do you mean, don't worry or no panic or whatever? He goes, all leaking and no power? When's the we going to panic? Or whatever the line was. I can't remember. But that dialogue, that audio clip got released. And if you think people backlash against Chris Pratt's voice in that first Super Mario's trailer, the backlash online was crazy. It, like, a lot of people instantly like, what the hell is that? And everyone's like, don't worry, just wait till you meet. Just wait till you meet him.
To speak to that, Chris Gore sent me, I don't know how he got it, sent me the script for the Phantom Menace, I don't know, a long time before the movie came out. And he sent it to a bunch of us. And he said, when you read this, put on your Star Wars soundtrack while you're reading. And I read the script, and in my mind's eye, Jar Jar did not sound like that. It was essentially the same script. But in my mind, I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever read. I was sitting there like, oh my God, it was amazing. And then seeing it, it was the script I read, but it was a very different execution than was in my mind's eye.
Yeah, it was crazy. All right, what's next?
All right. Glenn Mark says, hi, John. Did it feel like you were sending out your baby into the world when you published your book? I became a first-time published children's author this month, and it certainly did for me.
Oh, I imagine. Yeah, listen. One of the most intimidating things, occupations in the world to me, is that of a stand-up comedian. So like what Mark Ellis and Christian Harloff do, that's crazy because you're naked. You're getting up on a stage with just you, a microphone, and you're telling a joke and you're trying to make people laugh and you're exposed, right? Like there's nothing that you will feel more immediately as a failure than doing something like that. Whenever you try to do anything creatively, the same thing happens. I guess to some extent, doing what we do for a living, there's a little bit of that too, right? You're sitting at home, it's fine. You can have whatever opinions you want. Doesn't matter if they're popular or unpopular, they're in your head. When you get on camera and you are talking to thousands of people and you're giving opinions that you guaranteed half the people are going to hate and half the people are going to like, it's a little exposing. But yeah, when I worked on my book and when I finally did hit publish and released it on, there it is. That's my novel. It's called The Pride. And it released it. It was terrifying. And look, I was a first-time writer. I didn't know what I was doing. I just did it because other people always say they're going to do it and they don't do it. So I was like, then I'm going to do it. And so I wrote my book and I'm very proud of it. It ain't winning no Pulitzer Prizes. It's not winning any awards. Don't get me wrong, but I'm very proud of the story. And yes, you're right. You do feel very, very exposed and it's a little intimidating. Rob, you directed a movie with William Shatner. And you got to put that out into the world and people are going to look at it and judge it. What's that feeling like?
It was okay. I look, when you put something out in the world, you can't say anything back to people. You just have to the work is what speaks for itself. I had people tell me they loved it. And in Dallas, I had a woman throw a program at me and say that it was the most offensive movie she'd ever seen in her life. So you kind of have to find the in-between point and you just have to say, look, like you said, we put a lot of effort into it. It took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get it made. And you just have to let it exist on its own. And look, I take great satisfaction in the fact that I always wanted to make a movie my whole life. That's what I wanted to do. And I did it. And I've done it again. And not as a director, but I produced things and you just keep going. And you have to let the work speak for itself because some people will love it. You look at your favorite movie on IMDb, some idiot's giving it a 1.
Well, I mean, that's the nature of it, right?
But I will say this, speaking about Christian Harloff, he did tell me this joke, John. I can't, you know what? I'm not even gonna say it. It's just, his dad jokes kill me.
I heard the jokes, by the way.
They were, yeah, it's just.
There's a reason he's doing YouTube now. Oh, wait, sorry. I'm just giving a hard time. But you know, that's the thing.
Okay, I'm gonna just say it.
Sure.
What's red and not good for your teeth?
No.
What's that?
A brick.
Wow.
Just saying. He told me that, and he sits there and fires them off during the show, and I have to. Some of them are okay. I chuckled at that.
But the thing is, it's true with almost anything in life, right? Whatever you do, at some point you got to do your best, put it out there, and then just let the chips. Actually, you know what, Brooke? As a lawyer, you have to assemble arguments. You have to put
Oh, there's
your,
so much work before the actual
everything
litigating.
from discovery all the way through to final.
So much.
And at some point, you just got to do your best, and then you're just leaving it up to other powers to figure it out. And that's got to be a little like nerve-wracking too.
It's interesting you say that, because I was going to ask you guys, what was the best part, the process or the end result? For me, it's definitely the end result, because I like to litigate. I like to go into court and get that judgment for my client, or make sure that a mom or a dad retains his kids, or whatever it might be. It's the end result for me. The process can be grueling. It takes a lot, and there's a lot of emotions involved. But for you guys, with the film and the movie and the book, was it the process, or at the end seeing the result of whether or not people liked it?
I'm going to say it's like great sex, because the process is wonderful and the results are great, but the results are very short-lived. And so you put out a book, and it's like, I had a lot of people raving to me, say, I can't believe you wrote this book. And I read the book and it was wonderful. Schnepp was one of the biggest supporters of me. He made me feel like $1 million. But then everybody's moved on to other things. Right?
Yeah.
It's like people who make these movies. You make these movies, you work for 3 years on this movie, you pour millions of dollars into it, hundreds, sometimes thousands of people involved, blah, blah, and then have it's big, or maybe it's a YouTube movie, right? Or a Netflix series. Then you're all this kind, and then it drops on Netflix, and everybody talks about it for 3 days.
Yeah, then gone.
And then everybody's moved on to the next thing that's coming out on Netflix. So I would say, while the end and the result is great and satisfying, I think the process itself becomes more rewarding.
See, if you want to use a sex analogy,
Oh boy.
I already know the result of it, at the end of it is going to be okay for me. I'm going to enjoy the end. But it's getting to the end, and it's knowing that through that whole process that you've interacted with other people and they've had an incredible time working with you. And then later, maybe you'll hear like Tango Shalom, this movie I worked on for 5 years, got blessed by Pope Francis 2 months ago.
Yeah.
In the Vatican newspaper. Like, this is something I would never have expected. Like it doesn't matter. The movie is not gonna. It was a small independent movie, but I did not know that one of the religious leaders who helped with the film started the interdenominational under Pope John Paul II in the early 80s, started an interfaith outreach, that he had seen the film and passed it along, and you never know. And it's when you see things that you've made that have a completely, like when someone writes in the show, I read your book.
Yeah.
And they read it years after you wrote it. And you realize, because people responded, it's out of your mind. You're moved on to the next thing. And somebody will write you and go, I just read this. And you realize the stuff that you make has a ripple effect. Out into time. It goes into time, and you never know when someone's going to write you and go, maybe 20 years, maybe 30 years, maybe 40 years later, if one person said, you know what, I read your book and it put a smile on my face and I was having a really bad day. That's amazing.
Yep. All right. What's next?
You and your analogies. Hitchcock is the GOAT, says, I trust James Gunn, but I'm a little nervous. I'm not a gamer and I don't watch animation. I'm a live action guy and I wish he was linking only TV and film.
Again, what I think is people are misunderstanding I think if James didn't tell me this directly, I'm just guessing here. I think people are misunderstanding. I don't think he was suggesting that every single game that comes out of Warner Brothers Interactive is going to be completely directly tied into the movies. I don't think that was what he was saying. I think he was saying that there are going to be games that tie in or are based on things we see in movies. So I think that's the case. By the way, I don't even want him to tie the TV into the movies too awful much. I'd like there to be a little bit of a separation there.
I think you made a good point, though. Like, if you watch the Matrix movies and you never played Enter the Matrix or you never watched the Animatrix, you'd never feel like you missed something.
You never missed a thing.
But if you went back and watched, what was the first, the last, or the voyage of that first Animatrix, the first movie that was that was really cool. And I was like, I wouldn't, if I had not watched it, wouldn't have affected my enjoyment or anything. But watching, I was like, wow, that's neat. And then when I did play Enter the Matrix, there was a lot of cool tie-ins, but you didn't have to watch those things. But if you did, it just accentuated your enjoyment.
Yeah, which is what the MCU has been for a long time.
Absolutely.
Until recently.
Yes.
But that's what made the MCU so great.
And I think I wouldn't worry about it.
All right, what's next?
All right. John Redcorn says, do you think we'll get a Deadpool Venom crossover?
Nope, no chance. Zero. If they're going to cross Deadpool over with anything, it's going to be the bigger. No, Venom is obviously very successful, but they're going to cross them over with the bigger MCU things. And Venom's not even in the MCU.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Secret Wars. Do you think they'll bring over, since they've already done 2 Sony characters, do you think they'll bring over more people from the Spider-Verse to come into only in Secret Wars?
So Venom, maybe Craven. I doubt they'll do Morbius.
Right, but maybe but any of them other than the Spiderman.
I'm gonna guess no, but ask me again in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
I might change my mind on that. That's an interesting theory. All right, what's next?
Aiden Foley says, second Super Mario Brothers movie trailer just dropped and I really liked it. Animation is gorgeous, and to me, Pratt sounds so much better here as Mario.
Again, I had no issues with the way he sounded as Mario. Now, I am a little bit curious. Is he going to try everyone like Kevin Costner in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, where the accent comes and goes? Like, maybe.
Yeah.
But I personally had no issues with it, and I agree with you. I think visually it looked perfect. It looked exactly the way it should look visually. And so let's see where they go with it. All right, what's next?
Speaking of visually perfect things, do you want to mention MeUndies?
Already? Okay, sure, we can do that. All right, guys, we are going to take a second here and thank the sponsor of today's videos. They make my undercarriage feel just glorious, like it's in a Palm Springs resort. It's so smooth and silky. Our friends at MeUndies.
The holidays are officially upon us, and it's time to start celebrating. Do your thing and holiday your way with MeUndies. Because it's the most wonderful time of the year to try MeUndies, because they're currently offering a very merry deal. Get 20% off your first purchase with free standard shipping and free returns when you go to MeUndies.com/Campea. Guys, you know I've been wearing MeUndies for a while now because I used to be like everybody else. I would go to the big store, buy the biggest box of the most generic underwear, and I thought that was good enough. But ever since I started MeUndies and started wearing the most comfortable underwear I have ever worn in my life, I swear on this Christmas season, I will never go back. So get your holiday shopping finished early and start making time for yourself with the new MeUndies holiday collection. Their undies, long underwear, and sleepwear are made out of the softest, most supple fabric you've ever felt and are guaranteed to bring you comfort and joy to all of your loved ones. Shop their classic plaid prints for a traditional, picture-perfect style, or get festive with their adventurous limited edition sweater prints. Available in sizes extra small all the way through 4XL, MeUndies has what you need to make all of your favorite people smile this holiday season, all in one convenient place. So to get 20% off your first order, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/Campea.
And thank you to our friends at MeUndies for sponsoring this episode of Open Mic. All right, guys, with that down, let's get back to your questions here, shall we? Brooke, what do we got up next?
All right, Santiago Lugo says, James Gunn thanking Rob and retweeting John. Whoa.
Did he thank you?
I didn't see that.
Somebody had sent me that James Gunn had retweeted because I had hopped after I watched the holiday special. I got on and I wrote, I didn't believe in this, but man, this is now my favorite. And then somebody sent me a screenshot of James Gunn's Twitter. He had retweeted.
I mean, I worked with James a long time ago and we're friends. So, but I did mention that I did cry. I tweeted right after I watched the Christmas special. I literally did when Mantis. Anyway, I cried at the end, and I did. I had an involuntary tear.
All right, what's next?
Involuntary tear. Aiden Foley says there's a very underrated Christmas special from 1970 called Santa Claus is Coming to Town. It's a really charming look at the origin of Santa Claus.
What? Underrated? Underrated.
Oh, I remember this
one. Put
one.
in front of the other, and soon you'll be walking out the door. That's not underrated. That's got the Burgermeister Burger. It's got the Abominable Snowman. It's one of the greatest Christmas shows ever.
Yeah, it's right in the vein of Rudolph and Frosty and that whole thing. Yeah,
it's the best. And Fred Astaire.
Did he?
Fred Astaire narrates it.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it's the greatest. I mean, and I'm Jewish.
And even I've seen it. So that,
Yeah, it's
there's
great,
something
right?
that- Yes.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really cool one. I mean, I grew up watching it. I mean, it came out before I was born, but it played every Christmas.
I love you brought up Heat Miser and Snow Miser. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, The Year Without a Santa Claus is epic, but Santa Claus is Coming to Town was my first Christmas special, and I loved it.
That's great.
And I used to watch. I think. By the way, John, I have that on Blu-ray.
Of course you do. Not surprised.
I do.
All right, what's next?
Matt Mobile says, when the MCU finally makes their X-Men movie, do you think we'll see the 20th Century Studios banner along with the MCU one? I'd like to see it. Thanks.
Nope, 0% chance. And by the way, I remember when the new I bring it back to the same argument as we had when the new Star Wars movies were coming out. There's a lot of people discussing, are they going to put, even though 20th Century Fox was a separate company and all that kind of stuff, do you think Star Wars will still have the Fox fanfare? Because part of the and it's true, part of the Star Wars experience is starting off with frum bum, yeah, that's how we all remember Star Wars starting. But, and there's some people saying, I know it's a different company now, but they should just put it on there anyway. I'm like, how would you feel if you were working in your office and you worked 3 years on a project? You worked 3 years on a project, and that asshole Ted, 4 desks down, didn't do a thing. Not a thing on the project. He was doing completely other things, did nothing on this project. And you worked your ass off for 3 years. And when it came time to present the report to the CEO of the company, they go, oh, hey, put Ted's name on the top of the page. You know how insulting that is? How absolutely demeaning and insulting that would be? So yeah, hey, our company, we worked for 3-4 years on putting this thing together. Let's throw some other studios thing. Why? Because people like the drum solo at the beginning. I mean,
it's not the only movie it's in front of. I mean, any 20th Century Fox movie.
Well,
and it wasn't even just a Star Wars. So no, I don't think they're going to do that for X-Men, and they shouldn't.
I think that they'll do it for Deadpool though, and it'll be 20th Century Studios because it's R-rated.
But it's not being a 20th Century Studios project. That's
yeah, I know. I mean, it might just be Marvel, but the thing about Lucasfilm is they purchased Lucasfilm before they purchased 20th Century.
Yes.
So it was not.
But they still function as independent companies.
No. Of course. But when the thing is, Deadpool came with 20th Century Studios, and Lucasfilm was a separate entity. So I think they could get away. Like Lucasfilm is Lucasfilm,
right? But 20th Century, and which is still as an independent arm under Disney,
sure,
and their own people, they didn't work. They're not going to work on Deadpool.
No.
So they shouldn't get that credit.
But they changed 20th Century Fox to 20th Century Studios.
Right, but 20th Century Studio has nothing to do with it either.
Well, they might release it under 20th Century Studios because as a distribution entity.
I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, if they did, then that would make sense. Yeah, that would totally make sense. I don't think they're going to do that.
That's what I mean. Whereas Lucasfilm was actually purchased by Disney. Lucasfilm, everything they made, Indiana Jones, Willow, all that was theirs. Whereas 20th Century Fox produced the Deadpool movies. So when they bought 20th Century Fox, changed it to 20th Century, because they're releasing movies as 20th Century Studios now.
Yes.
And because of the R rating.
Because Fox still kept its name for its news divisions and all that kind of stuff.
But I don't think that they're going to, I only say that because it's R rated.
Yeah, I think.
The X-Men will not be.
No, the X-Men won't be, definitely not. But Kevin Feige, said, we aren't doing anything R rated except for Deadpool.
Right.
That tells me they're still going to release it under their norm. But that is a possibility. If they do, that logo being there would make sense.
It gives them an out.
Yes.
To say to irate parents, this is a 20th Century Studios movie. It's not.
But they're clearly saying it's in the MCU.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right. What's next?
All right. Miguel Ceja.
No, Santiago.
Okay. We've got two that look like they're in the middle. Santiago Lugo says, thoughts on the show Suits? I absolutely adore it.
Never watched it. I just know that Prince Harry's wife, which
was in it.
Meghan Markle.
Meghan Markle.
Yeah, was it? Who did she marry? Prince Harry or
Prince Harry?
Yeah, she married. I just know that Prince Harry's wife was in it, but other than that, I never saw. I've heard it's a very good show. Like that, and what's the other one everybody's always telling me you need to watch? It's on Amazon now. Amazon's always promoting it. It's got one of the
also a lawyer show. No,
it's called. Oh, guys, if you guys in the live chat know which one I'm talking about, there's another show that everybody's always saying, you got to watch it. There was like 6 seasons of it, and now they do a movie every like year or two. They put out a movie, and it's got the 2 lead guys, and I cannot...
Not White Collar.
No, not White Collar. That's a good one. Not White Collar. It's... And now I cannot. Psych! Thank you, Film Watchers 96 and the OK Channel both got
never
it.
got that.
Psych! Everybody's always telling me that I need to watch Suits and that I need to watch
Psych is actually a great show.
I've heard a lot of people say that.
It's a
I've never
great
seen it, though.
show.
Suits is great too. I actually watched it since I'm a lawyer and I wanted to really truly weigh in. It's like most lawyer shows, it's not exactly true to form. You know, you watch it and you're like, oh, that's not right. But they're civil litigants and you start to, the characters are really well developed. The main character, like Harvey, they all have their own little shtick. It's, for me, was reminiscent a little bit of Entourage, right? In the sense, like
Really?
you're in Ari Gold's, you know, you have those characters where they're just kind of like badasses, if I can say that word. And, you know, it makes me
Fucking
proud to be a
hell, Brooke,
lawyer.
don't fucking swear on my show. Shit.
No kids are here, by the way.
Heck, guys.
So I did enjoy it, but there was just, you know, they need a new legal advisor, I'd say, with their civil. Plus, also, they seem to take on like every single case. It's like, are you criminal lawyers? Are you civil lawyers? Like,
Yeah, but it's for
now
TV.
Exactly.
You know what we really should have done? We should have had Brooke in here when we were talking about She-Hulk, when we were reviewing She-Hulk week by week, to actually have a lawyer on the show to talk us through this lawyer.
Yeah, why didn't you invite me?
I didn't even think about it, to be honest. I
haven't
totally
seen it.
should have.
What type of lawyer is she?
Oh, so
green
you haven't
one.
watched She-Hulk yet? You know what? Maybe we
watched
should do a rewatch with Brooke.
She
and then have
represents
Brooke.
superhero cases.
What? So it's criminal? They're like committing crimes?
Yeah,
Some, but
it's
some
both
were like-
civil lit and
Yeah.
it's
Personal
in some
injury?
cases it's
Okay, so
it's lawyer.
exactly, like, you
so
know.
they bring her in to be the head of a brand new division, like in LA's largest law firm. They bring her in to be the head of a brand new division, a superhuman division of their law thing, and now she's running that. So I would have been very interested to see your reaction to it.
I love it.
What is next?
Okay, Miguel Ceja says, hopefully we get more DC non-superhero movies.
Does anybody want to see that? When I'm talking wider general audience, does anybody want to see that?
I'll tell you something. DC has a delightful character that I don't think anyone remembers, named Amazing Man. Like Amazing Man.
I'm not familiar with
Amazing Man. It's a very obscure character. Look up Amazing Man. Cute as a button. And if anybody is going to make amazing, James Gunn, we need to see an animated film, theatrically released animated Amazing Man movie. There is Amazing Man.
Oh my gosh.
And that's the
cute.
cover of issue 1, isn't it?
So cute.
Isn't it Taylor?
Isn't it, Taylor? Answer.
Amazing
When
Man
was
is
that?
great. I
don't
love
know,
it. And
but
you know what?
75 cents.
This is my 80. There you go. Oh, that's not issue 1. But that's, I might be, but Amazing Man is great.
But he's technically a superhero, right?
Yeah, I love his
Not-
underwear.
Not really.
It's in that vein.
Look at his little pants. Or whatever.
I want to see Amazing Man movie.
Are those MeUndies?
Yeah, no, brought to you by MeUndies. All right, what's next?
Does have an M on. He does have an M on top. Okay, the Everything Entertainment Network says, fun fact: the end credits for Return of the King feature art form from each crew job, a lute for musicians, a book for writers, and an ugly troll on Harvey Weinstein's credit. Interesting.
I did not
troll.
notice. By the way, he tipped in $20 in the super chat. Thank you so much for supporting us on that level, man. Everything Entertainment.
By the way, those renditions are beautiful.
Look, I still remember being in theater when Return of the King ended, and Annie Lennox is singing the greatest outro song in the history of film, Into the West. And these sketches come up walking us through the adventure we had together over the past 3 years. But it's one of the most perfect endings ever to a series of films. It was so beautifully done. The art and the sketches were breathtaking. That music, again, Annie Lennox won an Academy Award for this, well deserved. Because again, the most perfect song to end a movie franchise ever. It was just, I was moved to tears in the credits.
You know, John, Fellowship of the Ring can drink next month.
Turns 19?
21.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're Canadian.
I'm Canadian. Yes, it's 19?
21.
I was going to say, I thought it just turned 20 recently. Okay.
21.
Man, let's get your physical media and take it to a bar.
They have a cave troll.
Here you go.
All right. What's next? Thanks for that, Everything Entertainment.
My Comic Planet writes, just reported the 2023 Oscars will be going back to broadcasting all categories live. They had cut 8 nomination categories last year. Do you like this decision?
Woo-hoo! No. No, it's a bad decision. Because while everybody boo-hooed, who didn't understand what it was they were doing and cried and bitched and moaned when they made the announcement. But then what happened? Even you, when the actual Oscars aired, you're like, all right, that worked. What they did at the Oscars last year was everybody got their due, but they made the show faster. It moved everything along quickly, and it worked. So no, all they're doing now is genuflecting to the boo-hoo mob, who probably a lot of them don't even watch the Oscars. And now it's congratulations. You've just made the show probably about 15 minutes longer than it needs to be.
But the ratings weren't huge.
But the ratings haven't been huge for a year. Not to mention last year was still a year that they were kind of struggling with the whole pandemic.
I think the ratings are going to go up this year.
Well, they have to. I mean, look, last year's Oscars were still celebrating a docket of movies that had still come out in the tail end of a pandemic era when not a lot of people had gone to the movie theaters. By the way, not a hell of it, because they haven't put out a lot of movies this year. Not a lot of people have gone to the movie theaters this year either. So I do expect the ratings to go up this year, but that'll be because we're now in a post-pandemic world a little bit. I expect they're going to get even. I think that the end of 2023, the 2023 Oscars, the ratings were up significantly. But no, I don't like this decision. I think it's a bad decision. And now people are going to complain that the show was too long. And yeah.
I got one for you. Is Avatar going to get not knowing anything, is Avatar going to get a Best Picture nomination?
Yes.
I mean,
again, I've totally reserved the right to change my mind.
Yeah, I do too. But
the last one got nominated. Yeah. So, hey, listen, never doubt Jimmy C.
I don't doubt Jimmy C ever.
Bring back the interpretive dance section.
Oh, God, that's the other thing. There's so many.
Look, man, Irene Cara better they better give her some kind of
in memoriam.
No, she gets a song. I want them. Somebody's got to sing Fame. I want to see Debbie Allen come out. I want to live forever.
Hey, I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they should.
Let's come on, man.
She should be in the
don't get it anymore.
What a feeling. Flash dance that up.
All right.
Take your passion and make it happen.
What's next?
Matt Mobile says, how likely do you think it is that Hulk will show up in Captain 4, considering that the leader will be a villain? Thanks.
No. I think it's a pretty small chance. And I got to be honest with you, as much as I love Marvel and the MCU, I don't think there's anything in the MCU that disappoints me more than how they've treated the Hulk since Infinity War, really. And now there's 7 Hulks running around, and now Hulk's got Hulk Jr., and it's not even Hulk anymore. But I don't think they will, but you never know, it's possible. But I don't think they're going to go in that direction.
I think it depends on the tone of the movie. I expect Captain America 4 will continue. I mean, the Captain America movies have been fairly serious-minded, and they deal with issues at their core, usually. I think that Hulk probably won't show up, but I'm expecting a lot from Cap 4.
Yeah, I think they've got a lot of like high standards to live up to.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
John Redcorn writes, saw reports that there is no deal for Cavill to return as Superman, nor is there a director-writer for MOS2. If true, is risky to tease him in Black Adam.
No, look, the very fact that he was even present in Black Adam, like they may not have finalized have the I's dotted, T's crossed, but they've made their intentions very clear.
Yeah.
Zaslav made it clear months before Black Adam came out that he is very pro Henry Cavill as Superman. They've made a very, very big deal about this is getting done. I mean, it's there. Look, you can never. There's an old saying that says don't. What is it? Don't count your chickens before they hatch, sort of thing. And there's a truism to that. But this is clearly, you know what it is? It's the same thing as the Hugh Jackman thing. They knew for years that they were going to do this. They knew for years, but they didn't actually sign the contract until a couple of weeks before they made the official announcement. Even though they 100% knew what they were doing it, they were just working out details, whatever, but they knew it was happening for a very, very, very long time. Right. So with this case, it's the same thing. Henry is back as Superman. They may not have inked the deal yet, but that's just a matter of a technicality. It's coming.
Yeah, there's too much coordination. Henry actually put out that tweet that acknowledged it. You wouldn't have Dwayne Johnson, do tearing down the last administration so vocally if this administration wasn't going to do it either.
Yep, absolutely. All right, what's next?
Aiden Foley says, I'd love to
JW?
see... JW says, will Batfleck and Keaton share the screen in Flash?
I would love it. I'm guessing they don't. I'm guessing it's going to be a little bit of a Force Awakens thing where over here we meet this character and then Flash goes over here and runs into the other one. I mean, I would like to see Batfleck and Michael Keaton on screen together. I don't think it's going to happen, though. What do you think?
I think you're probably right. I mean, anything's possible. There are multiple Flashes in the same scene. We've seen that.
Yeah, but they're also both being played by Ezra Miller.
Right, that's true. I don't know. I you know what? I have to say I have no sense of what this movie's going to be like. Even though I've seen that trailer they've released, I don't know what the tone of it is. I don't know. I just don't know. Like I would say no right now, but I reserve the right.
But yeah, the neither of us are saying there's no way in hell that no, not. Of course it's possible.
I don't know.
My guess is that they won't, but we'll see. All right, what's next?
All right. Aiden Foley says, I'd love to see Gordon Ramsay host the show one day.
Bloody hell, Gordon Ramsay. You know, I've met Gordon Ramsay. I got invited to. They did one of his kitchen nightmares in Glendale,
I remember
California.
that.
Remember when they had the brothers, the restaurant they owned. Honestly, listen, I grew up in an Italian kitchen where my nonna made like the best lasagna. But outside of my nonna's lasagna, that Kitchen Nightmares episode, that lasagna was orgasmic. Like it was some of the best lasagna outside of my grandmother's kitchen that I had ever had. But he is there's a picture. That's us.
You're really good, Taylor.
That is us that's actually a shot from the Kitchen Nightmares that we were on. We were actually on camera for it a little bit. The thing is, you can tell when the TV cycle is going because about twice a year I'll get like 50 tweets from people saying, "Were you on Kitchen Nightmares?" Because well, I guess we're that episode.
Anne looks so serious and so adult.
Oh, she was digging in at that point, man. She was digging in.
Mess around with lasagna.
Yep. All right, what's next?
That was a great picture. Orange Hand says, Anya Taylor-Joy is voicing Peach, but I think she could also play a live action Zelda. She's got that elfin look to her.
Yeah,
For sure.
I'll tell you what now. Put Anya Taylor-Joy in anything.
yeah.
She kind of like rules the world right now. Like everything from Queen's Gambit. By the way, no one talks about her performance in The Northman. She is fabulous in The Northman.
Seen it.
I loved her in Menu. I mean, everything she does, she's just great. And because of her, I'm actually looking forward to this new Furiosa movie.
Well, she's on the talk show circuit with Nicholas Hoult. And
For the
menu, and she keeps talking about the magical experience. And Nicholas Hoult was in Fury Road. And
I forgot that he was in that. That's
It's
right.
a lovely day. So they were, I think they were Graham Norton or something, and they're like, "Did you talk about this?" And they didn't realize, like she didn't realize because she'd already shot Furiosa when they shot the menu, I think, and she'd forgotten he was in it. And then they finally, like a couple weeks into shooting, they finally bonded over what it was like to work for George Miller and be in these movies. But
That's funny. I like that.
Hopefully that was her big payday. She deserves some good contracts now.
Oh, I mean, look, here's the thing. She is not every once in a while, actors and actresses come along that are flavors of the week. And they'll be hot for a year or two, whatever. Anya Taylor-Joy is not a flavor of the week.
No.
She is going to be in this business for a while. One of the worst entertainment predictions I ever made. There are two of them. One day, somebody asked me, I remember once very, very early, it might have still been in the movie log days. Somebody asked me, who are two basically unknown performers right now that you think are going to be huge? And I said two names. I said, James Franco. You guys don't know who he is, but he's actually the guy who plays Spider-Man's best friend in this. This guy has got amazing talent. He's going to be huge. Sure enough, he became a huge Academy Award nominated, like all this became huge. The other guy I said was Justin Long. Who I still...
The guy I literally always recommend for everything.
I still love Justin Long to this.
I do too.
I love Justin Long. I think he's fabulous. I love him when he pops up in anything, whether it's New Girl or whatever movies it is he pops up, Barbarian. I love seeing him. But I don't know why he was never able to break through and become that next level star. The other big mistake I made was 15 years ago. I was with my friend Chuck Norris, who is the editor, and that's his real name.
Not that Chuck Norris.
No,
yeah.
not that Chuck. He was the editor of my movie. But my buddy Chuck Norris, and this Taylor Swift song was playing. And he's like, and he said, I don't know, John, what do you think? You think she's got a future? I'm like, this girl, no one's going to remember who this girl's name is in like 8 months. How'd that work out? Yeah, she's doing pretty
All
good.
10 top 10 songs on the Billboard charts.
Yeah, sold out SoFi Stadium 4 nights in a row. Taylor Swift. But I will say this, Anya Taylor-Joy is not a flavor of the week actress. Like, we're going to be talking about her still 5 years from now.
You know, our friend Michael Davis, who's in your documentary,
Yes.
who I need to talk to you about something in the future, he wrote a script that he submitted to Justin Long's people that if Justin Long had done it, I think he would have been a bigger star than he is. It was called Bulletproof Crush. And the script never went anywhere. And I never understood why he wanted to make it after Shoot 'Em Up. And I'm like, how could nobody have greenlit this movie? It was irresistible, and he wanted Justin Long. And I'm like, be in the movie, do this. Oh, well.
I so like Shoot 'Em Up.
Oh, well, wait till I have something to show you.
All right, what's next?
Al Rensha says, new Super Mario Brothers trailer is perfection.
I don't know if I'd say it's perfection. It looks like perfection. But listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm looking forward to watching this. I'm excited to see it. I'm not sure I would have said that 3 months ago, but yeah, sign me up. I'm ready to go on this. All right, what's next?
It's adorable.
It looks adorable.
My Comic Planet says, Samuel L. Jackson responded to Quentin Tarantino, who claimed Marvel actors aren't movie stars. Sam said, the sign of movie stardom has always been, do they put butts in seats? Enough said. Do they put butts in seats?
You know what? Look, Quentin Tarantino is a genius, and he is one of the best filmmakers. That is undisputed. But like some of the other all-time great filmmakers, Marty Scorsese, James Cameron, a good Canadian kid, that does not mean you are immune from saying some really stupid stuff sometimes. And the comments Quentin Tarantino made about how, yeah, people in the MCU, they're not movie stars, was one of the most fucking ridiculous things he's ever said. And, you know, and Simu Liu was the first guy to come out and say, yeah, that's kind of nonsense. So Simu Liu was the first guy to come out now, and everybody just kind of brushed it off because Simu Liu's not a big star yet. But now Samuel L. Jackson is saying something about it, who worked with Quentin Tarantino, who likes Quentin Tarantino. I think people are going to take it a little bit more seriously. Actually, we're going to talk about this on the John Campea Show tomorrow. But yeah, now that Samuel L. Jackson is speaking up and saying something about it, because I got news for you, Quentin. The people in the MCU are movie stars.
How is Robert Downey Jr. not a movie star?
Yeah,
He's literally been famous since the 80s.
It was such an idiotic thing to say from a guy who is clearly 5 times smarter than me. But that just shows that no matter how smart we are, how good we are, how whatever, we all say something stupid from time to time. We all do it. Nobody's immune to it. I've done it. You've done it. Quentin Tarantino's done it. But it really was a dumb thing.
Someone
to
better
say.
go tell Michael Douglas and what's his name from Winter Soldier?
Or Anthony Hopkins.
And
Somebody
Anthony
better tell
Hopkins.
because
And
Anthony
Robert
Hopkins.
Redford.
Robert Redford.
Yeah, these poor guys are walking around thinking they're movie stars.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that they're not. Anyway, yeah. All right, what's next?
We all put our foot in our mouths once in a while. So, My Comic Planet wrote, what's the best picture winner of the last 6 years? Parasite, Coda, Nomadland, Green Book, Shape of Water, and Moonlight. My pick is Parasite, one of the best foreign films I've ever seen.
Parasite is absolutely fantastic. I am a huge fan of Green Book. I love Green Book. One of the films that Mahershala Ali won one of his Academy Awards for. To me, it's Nomadland. I remember in my first time watching that movie, I was on a plane and I watched it on my phone. So even in that very limited context of watching a movie, I was glued to the screen. I was immersed into it, into that woman's world. That movie is a movie that's made by the hand of a master storyteller. And that's part of the reason why I was so excited about Eternals. And I really like Eternals. Didn't end up being one of my favorite MCU movies, but I really like Eternals. But Nomadland is my favorite out of it. So what about you?
I think I might agree with you because, as a timeless film, Green Book is very populist.
Sure,
obviously. Yeah. And the other films seem like, I thought Moonlight was a brilliant movie, but small in a way. It's an more of an intimate story. Whereas Nomadland had, it reminded me in a way of Terrence Malick's Badlands or something. It really had, there was just something within me it spoke to. I don't know if it was call it my soul. I don't want to say that necessarily, or I could, because that's what it did. It spoke to my intellect. It spoke to my soul. And like you, I was mesmerized by that movie. And it's a movie about a woman who just decides to basically drop out of civilization and be a nomad. I mean, who would have thought it would have been that compelling? And there's very little dialogue in it. I mean, it casts a spell. I was swept away by that movie.
And like, I love the part, we're not going to go into a full dissertation here on Nomadland, but like when she's offered a couple of times in the movie options of having a regular home, whether it was David Strathairn or with her sister or family or whatever. And it's like, we watch in this movie, the struggle of the life that she has chosen. And yet inexplicably, she keeps being drawn back to that life of struggle. And I think that speaks to us in many different levels. We may not be living van life, but I think that speaks to us in many different levels, that sometimes we are just compelled and pulled into things that other people may look at us and say, why are you doing that? And it's anyway, again, I said I wouldn't make this a whole dissertation on Nomadland. I love that movie. I think it's brilliant. So I give it that one.
Well, look, man, I still want to live in a trailer by the beach like Mel Gibson and Lethal Weapon 2.
That's not a bad life. It's a good dog. As long as you got good internet connection, I think.
And the beach.
All right, what's next?
Hung Vu says, hot take. Iger's return won't affect the MCU. Still too many projects, and Kevin is still one man.
Yes and no. On the yes part, guess what? He won't have a big impact on the MCU because he's only going to be there for the next 2 years and he's going to go back to his happy retirement. And the next 2 years of the MCU are already well in motion. Where you might be a little bit wrong on that, though, is that now that he is back, he may call in Feige into his office and say, slow down. I'm not saying he's going to, but if there's anybody who can say that to Kevin Feige, it's Bob Iger. But as far as the content we're going to get, obviously not, because the next 2 years of movies are either already shot in post-production or getting ready to shoot, and they're already written and ready to go. So in a practical way, you're not going to see a lot of change. But long-term, there might be some influence there. All right, what's next?
Terrence Fisher says, how do you maintain the balance of friendship and boss of your team?
I don't. I mean, that's unfortunately the reality, because while I really like everybody that I work with very, very much, the fact of the matter is I'm running a company, I'm running a business, and my responsibility to everybody that works for me is to make sure that the business is working and to make sure that the company is working. And that will mean that sometime, like, that I might have to have a talk with somebody that works with me that I would not have that talk with as a friend, but I have to have a talk with as a boss. I mean, it's so, the reality is that while I'm in the CEO of Carson Drive Media kind of format, I'm first and foremost the guy running the company. And then hopefully at some point when I'm no longer running my company or, if somebody's not working, like I'm stuck with Ray, he's family. So, there's that. But hopefully, when that part is done, then we can just go back to being just regular friends. But, I've got a responsibility to my family, to my company, to the other people that work for me. And unfortunately, it is primarily as a boss first. I see some other people try to run it like Michael Scott, that they want to be everybody's buddy and when they want to be everybody's best friend. But unfortunately, you cannot effectively run your company that way. So there's that. All right. Good question, though. Really good question.
I feel like you do a really good job, though, of making sure that everything runs the way it's supposed to, but making everyone feel like there's never, at least since I've worked with you for a really long time, ever been any type of superiority type, even though you're technically our boss. You've always made, at least me, feel like a team member, which is really hard to do. I think we're on a similar level.
It's true. Like everybody, I mean, look, I recognize, look, I'm a cheap bastard. So I'm not going to have anybody here that I have to pay money to that I don't think fulfills a really important role. And anybody that comes in and works with me and fulfills an important role, you have my appreciation, you have my admiration, you have my respect, and let's go. I mean, I still have to play boss once in a while, but I mean, it's part of the reality of it.
Well, the whip, the hot pokers, and the hot coals, too.
Yeah, sometimes
There's that.
Sometimes
the
there's
NDA.
sometimes
Yeah,
there's the
all
carrot,
that.
sometimes there's the stick.
That's right.
All right, what's next?
Joshua McGregor says, "Hey John, I'm a simple man with a simple question. Did Harloff take his $50 back? LOL."
You know what? For those of you who missed it, I can't remember. I think it was my Ask Me Anything stream. Harloff jumped in and did a $50 super chat. And I'm totally sure he simply forgot to ask me for the money back today. So yeah, Christian was in the studio today, did not ask me for the $50 back, but I'm convinced it's only because he forgot. All right, what's next?
Just a Sub 32 says, "Curious about your thoughts." And
My thoughts are deep and important.
was I not supposed to read that one?
I don't know.
it's a part two to something.
I have deep thoughts.
It's a part 2. I'm all over the
Oh,
place.
is that a part 2?
Yeah, but what was part 1? I found part 1.
What was
Just a
part
couple
1?
Of it.
Okay, here we go. We're figuring this out. Hey, John and Rob, this is just a sub 32. I know this happened 2 years, but I was curious about your thoughts when Joseph Gordon-Levitt said that the future of storytelling will be through video games. I'm curious about your thoughts.
No, he's wrong. But listen, video games present a really interesting opportunity for some very interesting storytelling. Now, look, I know video game fans will want to say the stories in video games. No, they're not. There are a few exceptions. Red Dead Redemption, Uncharted, God of War, Last of Us. In the scope of the tens of thousands of games, there are a handful of them that have truly narrative stories, like truly narrative stories. See, here's the thing though. Games, with movies, the primary goal of movies is narrative. That's the primary goal. In games, that's not the primary goal. The primary goal in games is gameplay. Because you can tell you can tell the greatest story in the world in Last of Us, but if people don't have fun playing the game, then it's all irrelevant. And there are a lot of games that have stupid stories, but are incredibly popular games because they have great gameplay. So no, the future of storytelling is not video games. Video games have an incredibly bright future, but their bright future has nothing to do with them being, the new epoch of storytelling. I don't know, Rob, what do you think about that?
Well, I've often said I think cinema is the 20th century art form. It takes the culmination of all the other art forms with the added benefit of technology, and it told us stories in a way we never could see before in all of human history. I do think that the future of storytelling for the individual, we are on the cusp. We're, in terms of video game and VR technology and interactivity, we're in like the 1920s right now. And that there's going to be technology that's invented, and I don't know what it is, but it's going to be something to do with VR where the individual is placed at the center of the game. And it's going to be a combination of AI creating the narrative as the gameplay unfolds. I think we are going to see by 2030 a new art form that will have emerged that will supplant narrative and video games as we have them now. Although I don't know what it is, but it is going to be the thing that's going to carry us forward the same way that movies were to the 20th century. Whatever this combination of films and video games is going to carry us into the rest of the 21st century.
All right.
But I don't know what that is.
I don't agree, but I mean, technology changes so fast.
That's
you
what I
never
mean.
know. Yeah.
And I do think it's going to be a combination of AI, gaming technology, and narrative.
All right.
I was going to say, I agree. I think that there will be some interactive component to film in the future where we're in charge and kind of helping set the scene or make choices. But I do think that regular film will never go out of style because we just want to be able to sit there and watch and let ourselves be entertained and just kind of fall into the storyline without having to make choices. So I think it'll be dual.
I saw something, John, I tweeted it out today. It was from an Australian channel, and it was about this ghost image on the internet.
Yeah.
Did anybody see
Yeah,
this?
that's so cool.
That was the creepiest thing of all the horror films and all the stuff I've seen in the last couple of years. I read this, and as I was reading it, my blood was chilling, and it's literally about this like AI ghost image of this woman that it's like self-perpetuating on the internet. I'm like, man, I don't know if it's real. If I don't know what it was, but didn't it creep you out, dude?
No, I want to buy the rights to her and tell her life story.
Oh man, and people were tweeting back to me. They're like, I couldn't even finish reading that.
All right.
So wait, are you saying that AI will be able to create more interesting stories in film than humans can now?
I think it differently. Because we're locked into the way we think, whereas AI is going to think three-dimensionally the way, that's it.
Ooh.
And if you read the story of what this thing is, man, is this creepy.
Here's fine. There's already a piece of software out there for bloggers where you literally type in a subject and it'll write a blog post for you. Like, so you might not be too, I don't think it'll ever be as good, but I mean, we're not too far away from that. Okay, we got to keep moving here. What's next?
Yes. Hitchcock is the GOAT says, I wonder if Christopher Nolan would be tempted to follow Legendary to Sony. They distributed the Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, and Interstellar.
They paid for them.
They paid for them. Warner Brothers distributed those films. Where's he making Oppenheimer as? Universal? Yeah. Hey, listen, if he has a great experience at Universal, he's going to stick right where he is. But then again, that's the nice thing about being a director. You can go anywhere you want, but he tends to like to find a place he's comfortable at.
And Sony did say they theatrical is their
number one key thing. So that might be appealing to him too.
I wouldn't be surprised if we hear that he's landed at Sony for an exclusive four-picture deal.
Those exclusive deals are very rare.
I know. But he's the one guy that could get them.
But would he want to cage himself in like that?
As long as he's guaranteed theatrical distribution.
Maybe. All right. What's next?
Tevin Camo says, Trailer 2 for Mario has boosted my anticipation.
And Tevin, that is the ultimate compliment you can give to a trailer. That's the ultimate job of the trailer. Boost your anticipation of something. It did its job, and I agree. I'm right there with you. I'm really excited about seeing it now. All right, what's next?
Jonathan Schultz writes, I know it's not needed, but do you think Shia's character from Indy 4 will be referenced at all in Indy 5? Also, what's your take on Temple of Doom? It's my favorite of the franchise.
Ooh, look, I don't understand people's pushback on Temple of Doom. I loved Temple of Doom, and in a way, it's closer to the serial roots of the indie franchise than even Raiders is. I love Temple of Doom. It's mean-spirited. It's violent. It's a little more stripped down than Raiders is, but and there are cultural elements that are a little problematic, but I still love it. I think it's great. As for whether Mutt will be referenced, no one's ever asked this. I think he will.
I think you can't say he's got a son and then suddenly not ever mention him again.
Yeah, because I think he will. If he's not in the movie, we don't know. I haven't heard a word that he's in it, but he's got to be referenced.
By the way,
do you like Temple of Doom?
I love Temple of Doom.
I do too.
I think it's my third favorite but I still love it. But
it's got a great score too. The John Williams score is great.
I never see Anne Gaga in any movie ever the way she does in Temple of Doom when Indy's under the hypnosis and comes out shirtless. And Harrison Ford comes out too. Like Anne is like, that is the sexiest any man has ever been. It's like at that.
Well, look at that. He's got that smoldering look on his face, and he's glistening with sweat, and he's jacked. That's the most jacked Harrison Ford's ever been.
Kali Ma. All right. What's next?
How old is Harrison Ford in this movie?
In this new one?
Yeah.
In the new one that's coming out?
79.
Or the scene that you're saying that Anne gets
in the Temple of Doom? He's got to be early 40s?
Yeah, because it was shot in... There he is.
Oh,
there he is. Yeah. Yeah, Anne gets a little weak when that scene happens in the thing. Can't blame her. That's a damn handsome man. Look at that. Look at the Ford man.
He's like 80s hot, yeah. But I go for a buffer.
Okay. What's next?
Fangblaze71 says, has Ray seen The Menu? I think he might actually like the real cooking and recipe parts like he does with the Bobby Burger Show.
I'll never be able to get Ray to watch that movie, I don't think. Even though I think he would get a lot of, especially the cooking stuff. I think he would love that, but I don't know if I'll ever be able to get him to watch that movie, to be honest with you. All right, what's next?
Harv's K says, saw that the director's cut of Kingdom of Heaven is on Prime. If there's one director's cut that should be considered definitive, it's this one. It turns a bad movie into one of R. Scott's very best.
I totally agree. It baffles me that Kingdom of Heaven, they cut, it's kind of like Once Upon a Time in America, they cut like an hour out of it. And it's a totally different movie. And it's really interesting. I mean, I think our viewer is absolutely correct. And I don't know why they did that. Like, who decided to do that?
It's the one director's cut that everybody says with every director's cut, oh my gosh, it's a totally different movie. No, it's not. No, they never are. That one is the closest to actually saying, this is like a completely different movie experience.
It is.
And it's the one that I would give that credit to. That's the one I would. All right, what's next?
My Comic Planet writes, it was 5 years ago today that the first Avengers Infinity War trailer premiered.
Wow.
I remember waiting for that scene at the end with them running with Hulk to appear in the movie, but never did.
Cool scene, wasn't it?
What's that?
Cool scene, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was, of course, featured. We talked about that scene particularly in our documentary movie Trailers, A Love Story.
There it is.
I mean, it was one of the first true full misdirects. And there we see Rocket's arm there in the shot. It was one of the first true misdirects of that the Marvel Cinematic Universe did. And now every time a trailer comes out, that part was a misdirect. It's like everybody thinks every scene in every trailer now is a misdirect, but that was one of the big ones, showing Hulk in there. And yeah, man, I still remember where I was. I still remember where I was when that first trailer dropped and everybody got so excited. It was, whoo, I mean, look at that scene. Cap leading everybody.
He's right over there. The reason that scene doesn't exist is because he's on your desk.
Oh yeah, over here. Here we go. Oh, you can't see me. He's out of shot. You can't see Cap. Anyway,
Trust us, he's there.
all right. What's next?
Just like in the movie.
My Comic Planet says, I watched the Will Smith interview with Trevor Noah. He seemed very sincere to me, but only time will tell if the vast majority feel the same way.
I have no doubt Will Smith is sincere. I have no doubt the moment the Oscars were done, he completely regretted his actions. Look, I am one of the, I know there's everybody thinks like, whatever, that was no big deal what he did. And there's others who are like, burn Will Smith. I am firmly in the middle of that. I'm like, yeah, what he did was stupid. He needed to be held accountable. But guess what? He was held accountable. He lost out on certain movie roles. It cost him financially. He was globally humiliated. He had issues with his marriage dragged out in front of the public for everybody to talk about and see. He was vilified, and it cost him a lot of money. So for everybody who says he needed to be held accountable, I would say he was held accountable.
Yeah, he was.
He was held accountable. Now we move. The whole idea of holding people accountable is that you then move on. And I think Will Smith, I think he absolutely regrets what he did. I think he has paid a price for it. And now that the price has been paid, let the man move on. Now, again, there's no excuse for what he did, but he slapped the man. And you should never put your hands on somebody else. Absolutely not. There needed to be accountability. But he didn't get full mount on him and start dropping elbows and smashed his teeth in or something like that. He paid a price. He paid a steeper price than any of us will ever pay for any of the mistakes we make in our lives. And now it's time to let him move on and move forward.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I didn't see the interview, but at any point, because I just am still so beguiled of how it wasn't like you could see that it was impulsive, but like he had to walk all the way up that stage, you know, and like there was some time to think about it. Did he mention if he was like heavily drunk or like under the influence or anything? Because to me, I'm just like, how could that's like I could see if the guy was Chris Rock was standing right there and he just smacked him, but like it was a process, right?
It was, but you know what? Here's the thing: when you get look, I'll tell you what. I'll be honest with you. If somebody in my physical presence insulted Anne, I don't know what I'd do. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what I'd do. I would like to think I wouldn't go so far as what Will Smith did, but look, as human beings, when you are burning, you get kind of tunnel vision. You're not thinking straight from it. Again, I'm not making excuses.
But John, if it were a comedian making a joke, which is his job, on stage, and it's a show, like I feel like if someone made a joke about Anne, I think
you would get the joke, and unless Anne was really distraught. Unless you were like at a restaurant and they were like, and look at this person here. She's, you know, it's like that's different.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
like,
but I would probably talk to them afterwards. Yeah. But again, that is why I believe he needed to be held accountable. Yeah. He got a 10-year suspension from the Oscars. I personally feel his suspension didn't go far enough. I don't think he should have just been suspended from coming to the Oscars. I think he should have been suspended from being eligible for the Oscars, but whatever. But again, he paid a heavy price. And if you don't think the global humiliation that he has been subject to for the past 8 months was a real high price to pay, then you've never felt the type of humiliation that he would be subject to.
And by the way, for the rest of his life.
Yeah, this is never going to go
on the
away.
internet to be, and I'll
never
say something. He said something really
the
interesting.
memes and everything, yeah.
But he also said that this was something that was building in him for a long time.
Yeah,
you know, and look, I don't want to excuse anybody, but human beings, there are times when we're all emotional creatures, and if we don't deal with what we live in a civilization where we see it every day. People go postal for whatever reason, and that's why it's so important. I wish that we emphasized mental health across the board as something that everybody encourages. That, I mean, even on this show, we have BetterHelp, you know, and it's, I think it's important, and we don't do it enough. And clearly, he was bothered, and I'm not trying to absolve what he did, because he did it in front of everybody. But sometimes, man, you don't know what the torment, like you said, what did you say? Everybody's fighting a battle that...
Everybody you meet is fighting a battle you don't know about.
And he has gone through a lot with Jada Pinkett Smith, his wife, if you know. I mean, her infidelity, her entanglement. If you ever watch Red Table Talk, which is her show, I mean, they got on that show together and talked about her affairs and his affairs and all. I mean, talk about the building up.
And it was in public. It was all done in public for the
which
world
I
to
can
see.
only imagine, you know, having to go through all of that publicly. I can imagine that it was built up. And I completely agree with you that once someone takes accountability, you have to learn at that point to move on. And he's taken accountability. I am a big Will Smith fan. I was just so surprised by what happened, but the man's been through a lot as well. So I can see how it got there also. I was hopeful that he had just been having a little too much to drink that night.
But also
we got to move on here because we're already like 20 minutes over time on the show. So let's keep rolling here. What's next?
We could go on forever. Nico says, according to Mirror English newspaper, Aaron Taylor-Johnson is said to have impressed Barbara Broccoli at a screen test in Pinewood Studios. She loves him, one of the front runners. Man, I could really picture him as Bond.
All right, and by the way, Nico sent in like a $23 super chat. Thank you, Nico. No screen test ever happened. I mean, the Broccolis and everything have already said, they said this just a couple of weeks ago. They said we are so far off from you know what? They're not going to screen test till they have a screenplay. They don't have a screenplay. They haven't. I don't believe for 1 second that screen test happened. Now, if we find out if we get more information in and new information in, that we do find out that this screen test happened, great. But until I get more information, I don't believe that happened at all. Remember when everybody was going around that, what was it? Oh yeah, they did a screen test for Indiana Jones 5. Remember the bullshit channels were pushing this narrative? There was a screen test for Indiana Jones 5 and they showed 4 different endings and everybody hated all of them. Yeah, it turns out there have been no screen tests.
Well, you mean a screening. Or a screen test is when they, an actor goes in and auditions for.
Right, but I'm saying it's the same thing as that bullshit. It's like when they did the test screenings for people, and it turns out there were no test screenings. They never happened. That was total fiction. I do not believe this for a second. Now, speaking in hypotheticals, I could be down especially after seeing Bullet Train. I'd totally be down for an Aaron Taylor-Johnson.
I was just going to say, it never even entered my mind that Aaron Taylor-Johnson could play Bond. I watched Bullet Train like 4 times in the last week because we had family over there and I have the 4K disc. He could be a really good James Bond.
He could be.
I mean,
I think there are a lot of people who could be great James Bonds, but I think he's one of them.
In Savages.
I
he's
love
great
Savages,
in Savages. I mean, this is good. This is interesting. But with James, sometimes they screen test people using old James Bond scripts. And they bring him in and they do screen tests. So,
but until you know what you want, until you have a script,
right,
and you know what this James Bond is going to be, and that's why the Broccolis came out a while ago. Like with all the speculation going about who's the next James Bond, they came out and just put the record straight and said, look, we're nowhere near picking a new James Bond. We're nowhere close to that. So that's why I don't. But again, if new information comes out that says it was, great. But until I hear that, I
haven't read that anywhere either.
Yeah, not anywhere reputable at any rate. All right, what's next?
Fangblaze71 says, Tyler's bullshit scene in the menu had me laughing so hard.
There's so many scenes in the menu that I love so much, but that is definitely one of them.
I've bought tickets for it twice and haven't been able to go.
That's me in Devotion. Twice I had tickets for Devotion, and both times something came up and I couldn't go. So I still haven't seen Devotion. I'm dying to see that.
Wait, movie. I saw the menu. What was the bullshit scene again? Really quickly.
Well, I can't. People are watching the thing.
Don't say it.
Can't go into it.
It's not giving away spoilers, is it? Or the ending?
Yeah, no.
I can't even remember.
What's next?
There you go. My Comic Planet says, I love Yellowstone, but I do worry that the show may turn into the Beth Dutton show. I mean, she's so over the top with her behavior. It often pushes the boundaries of verisimilitude for me personally. Verisimilitude.
I don't agree. I am locked into that character because here's where they are able to keep a balance. Beth's character and her eccentricities, there's always consequences. Like Yellowstone isn't a show that just people do whatever and there's never any consequences. Like even there's a little storyline going on in the show right now. Again, I haven't seen the newest episode. I haven't seen this Sunday's episode, but a little thing where they're trying to keep wolves from eating the calves that are being born. So they shoot a couple of wolves, realize they're national park wolves with tags that they're not supposed to. And guess what? There's consequences. Whenever something like this happens in the show, there's always consequences. And consequences, to me, maintain the verisimilitude. Like a couple of weeks ago, Beth, being Beth, sees a woman hitting on Rip and takes an alcohol bottle and just smashes it over the woman's head, right? Other shows and movies would just have them driving away home and say, oh, I can't believe you did that. Not in Yellowstone. In Yellowstone, the police got called. She got arrested. She got driven away. And see, as long as there's always actual counterbalance consequences to the actions, that for me, Rob, maintains verisimilitude. Yep. Actually, that's what gives it verisimilitude to me. So anyway, that's just my thought.
The Sopranos, the things they did, and no one ever came looking for a murder suspect. Like they'd shoot a waiter or kill some like stripper. And,
nope,
like,
it's all good.
Just no one's investigating.
Nope, it's all good.
Pine Barrens,
no charges.
All right, what's next?
Al Rencha says that TikTok video with Reynolds/Farrell singing makes sense as it was probably a pseudo rehearsal for Spirited. Spirited is a new favorite of mine.
Are you talking about that little video that went viral like a year ago?
Maybe, yeah.
I remember where they start singing those things, but I think that was viral. If you're talking about a new one, I'm not familiar with it. I'll be honest, I don't go on TikTok. I've never gone on TikTok except for when like a buddy of mine, Soul, will sometimes send me funny TikTok videos, but other than that, I don't go on it.
It's a Chinese surveillance app.
It basically is.
Yeah.
It is a Chinese surveillance app, and yeah. Anyway,
like that meme says, you watch them like adults when they show up on Instagram.
Yeah,
TikTok videos.
There you go. All right, what's next?
Culture Wars Diplomacy says, with TV ratings, should network TV be more free on like nudity and language in USA?
No, because here's the thing. Nudity and language is not what makes a show good or what makes a show popular or anything like that. Like, is there a visceral nature to that? Yes. Do I get a kick when I'm watching, the old Game of Thrones things and there's massive orgy scenes going on? Sure. But it's not what made the show great.
Right.
I
think the episodes or the seasons later where they just kind of got away from that. They were better.
Yeah. I mean, so I really don't think that's I don't think that's the defining factor of it. And there's no way public broadcast will ever allow that to happen.
No.
Nor should they, to be honest with you.
We're a little immature.
There's a place for that if we want that. And it shouldn't be on the public airways. All right.
Pornhub.
And that's me who's totally into the filthy. I love the filthy. But yeah, even
you're one keystroke away from whatever you want.
That's true. Anything you want is out there. So just go watch it there. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Anthony C. says, you'd think jokes of Rocket being a raccoon would get tiring and repetitive, but that moment in the holiday special gave me the biggest laugh.
But when's the last time we heard him being a raccoon joke? How many years has it been since we heard that joke? And that's what Kevin Bacon would say.
It's exactly what he would say.
Did that raccoon just talk, I'll kill you? Like that was so. Have you seen the holiday special?
No.
Oh my God, Brooke.
It's so good.
And I just read that my friend first AD'd it. I was just texting him, was the first assistant of that too.
Yeah, and you didn't even realize that he was the first
or
AD,
Guardians
James
of the
Gunn's first AD.
Galaxy 3 too.
Yep, and Peacemaker.
So I guess I got to watch it.
I'm telling
You'll like it.
It's
and
amazing.
Suicide Squad and all these other things that I'm realizing now as I'm going back and forth on Instagram DMs here.
All right.
I had no clue.
What's next?
Anthony C says, nope. Alan Ling says, hey, John and Rob, to both of you. Definitely, Rob. You think there's any chance Netflix lets us get Glass Onion on physical media? I would love a Blu-ray with special features.
I just don't. I don't think so, and it's unfortunate because our friend Cliff Stevenson, who was here last week, did the excellent documentary on the Knives Out disc. Maybe they will allow something like this to be done for Criterion. Like they'll allow the Criterion Collection, like they did with The Irishman, to put out a disc. But Cliff did not do what he did for the first Knives Out, which is unfortunate, which he was on set recording things. But maybe, look, we talked about it a little bit this morning. Netflix has put some of their stuff out on physical media, right? Stranger Things.
Yep. Unlike some of the other streamers. So it's not outside of the realm of possibility that they do. I give it a solid 35% chance.
But at least not for a while. I wouldn't imagine the soonest we'd get it is a year because it doesn't even go on Netflix until end of December.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And is that it?
That's it.
All right, guys.
We made it.
Well, that'll do it for today's installment of Open Mic. A little bit of a long one, but thank you for hanging in there with us as we did it. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those super chats. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did, and all of us involved with the channel. Thank you guys so much for your support. Don't forget to join us again tomorrow, guys, for the newest episode of the John Campea Show. That's at 10:30 a.m. Los Angeles time. Make sure you guys are here and join us for that. Chris Carr will be back as well as Robert Meyer Burnett. So for everybody in the room, we got Robert Meyer Burnett. Jonathan Voico's been back there chiming in. Taylor has been running the show today. Well done, Taylor.
Thank you.
And of course, Brooke has been here with us. We love it when Brooke is here. And of course, thank you guys for being here. My name's John Campea. And until tomorrow, my friends, bye-bye.